Hey everyone, Barry from BarryFastCars here. We're going to do a little analysis, some review of what went down in the during the Geneva Auto Show, which is still technically going on, but everything's been unveiled already, and there's some really nice cars that that kind of blew me away, or really interested me at the very least. So first up, I think I'll do maybe 2 cars per video, maybe just one, we'll see how long I take. Obviously the 911 GT3. I have always been a GT3 fan since the 996 came out in, I think, 99, if I'm not mistaken. There was this one background that Porsche had, and I'm finding such difficulty, like a desktop background, like such. But it was a yellow 996 GT3. This is well before RS days and the like. And it was in the studio. It had this backlighting that was just immaculate, and it was on carpet, and it looked so cool. And it was my background for, like, I think all of freshman year in high school. Maybe it was even like a little bit of 8th grade, freshman year, back in the day. But here's the 2018 911 GT3, and they really cleaned up the design quite well, in my opinion. You can scroll through some of these pictures here and get a good look at it. They changed the whole front bumper area, which I thought was not highly aesthetic on the previous 991, I guess .1 generation. They do kind of weird not model designations, but chassis designations, if you will, generational names of cars. I think maybe BMW does a little bit better. It is what it is. So here's the GT3. I hope this is coming out better on the screen than it looks like. I just have my little screen on my camera that I'm looking at, and it doesn't really look that good, but I think after post-production this will actually come out better. At least it seems to have done that in the past. So slimmer LED DRLs. I mean, I'm not a huge DRL fan, but these also act as the turn signals, if I'm not mistaken. They are extremely functional and make it so that the headlight can be simpler, so we don't end up with 996-esque generation headlights. They could easily integrate the turn signal, I suspect, into the the main headlight assembly, but whatever. It's cool, and they're subtle. That's the main thing. I like that they're subtle. We'll go back to the front of the car, and yeah, just really cleaned up the design. Speaking of the DRLs real quick, the previous, or the first 991 generation had, like, the intake, the corner intake here, which is used for various things. There is low, I think, low temperature radiators there. I don't think they might cool the engine, but I think they're for other things. And the DRL, like, kind of drooped over the edge, and it just didn't look that appealing to me, at least. I mean, when you see it in person, it's a lot better. You're not getting super analytical, and there were certain colors that masked it. The whites and the silvers, they masked it rather well. But long story short, this looks a lot better. This really harkens back, for me, to one of those earlier generation, the simplicity of the earlier generation 911 GT3s. And I suppose we could talk a little bit about the newer technology that they're talking about. I don't have everything, I don't have it written down or anything, but going off memory, I've seen a few very good videos with Andreas Preuninger, the head of the department that is GT, the GT cars come from. So a new rear wing assembly, it is higher, and the new headlights, taillights, all that fun generation stuff. The lower valance here and also underneath is actually more aerodynamic. Of course, every generation kind of has to be more aerodynamic than the previous one. That's the name of the game when it comes to progress, especially these days. Any incremental improvement is going to be necessary. if I'm not mistaken, I think the numbers were like a 20% improvement in aerodynamics with no drag increase, which is highly impressive. So we're at the back here. So they have more of a diffuser situation here, which makes sense. You know, that was the whole idea of going mid-engine for the GT3 RSR race car, the 911 RSR, was to get a larger diffuser to you know, compete with the Ford GT, the 488, you know, whatever, 488. I don't even know what the race car is technically called. Someone put it in the comments if you don't mind. I'm just blanking right now. I'm going to actually go see them at the Long Beach Grand Prix, so better get that down. Here it is on track. Of course, we have rear wheel steering, which is such an incredible technology. It transforms a car and makes a car so. What seems to be the main benefit is the usability of the car increases so much. You get you know, such better turning radius at lower speeds, and the stability at higher speeds is, you know, it's from what I can tell, a drastic change, drastic improvement for, you know, a car with it compared to without it. It is impressive for sure. I like the little black end things on the rear wing here. You know, it just gives that sporting vibe, if you will. The engine. So I guess we don't have too many pictures here, as it looks like. I'm just on carscoops.com using their pictures. There it is on a nice racetrack. The engine is now a 4-liter unit. I'm not going to get incredibly break down the technical specifics, but we're going from 3.8, which made 375 horsepower, and I don't know the exact torque figure, but I believe right around between 320 and 330. I want to say around 320, closer to there. An amazing motor. It revved to 88, if not 9,000 RPM. I believe 9,000 RPM in the previous generation, which was of course PDK only. I was hoping to make a little bit more bigger statement about it, but this has now brought back the 6-speed manual transmission. It is a new 6-speed, generally speaking, compared to like the 6-speed that was in the 997 generation GT cars, and it's very, very impressive. Dual mass flywheel, and it's how I would option it by all means. I would go manual. I've driven a 997 GT3 RS, which was only 6-speed manual, and it's perfect, to put it that way. So the 4-liter in this new model, the 991.2 generation of GT3, makes 500 horsepower. That is absurd in the best way. We are seeing some serious power to weight ratio now out of these GT cars. This is just the base. There's going to be a 911 GT3, which we have here, with 500 horsepower. Ooh, that's a good picture. I do really hope this is coming out as a better resolution than my little screen's giving me. I'm gonna need to get one of those auxiliary screens to show what I'm gonna represent in the future. But GT3 RS will most likely be at the Frankfurt Auto Show in September. We'll see. Maybe it'll be another year, but I would be surprised. I think it'll be unveiled midsummer. And we're hearing rumblings of a 4.2 liter flat 6, which is just unreal. And I mean, could we see 550 horsepower naturally aspirated GT3 RS? GT3 RS will most likely not have a manual option. It's a race car for the road, as much as that term is overused, that statement is overused. It's a race car for the road. So it's PDK to kind of represent the paddle shifters that the race cars use. and which is arguably better than the transmission that the race cars use, but we won't get into that. I sometimes wish race cars use dual clutch gearboxes. These are the pictures I wanted to see. A new option, which is kind of cool, that I really like. And Andreas Preuninger, the head of GT3 Porsche, said it beautifully when we're talking about the outline at the very edge of the center lock, you know, essentially race wheel, 20-inch wheel, and then it has optionally this red pinstripe around the very edge, which he's correctly, of course, he's an absolute brilliant person, so he would correctly state this, that it's like a demarcation line of the separation between the essentially matte black wheel and what is almost all the time a matte black tire, of course. Granted, you could spruce it up a little bit with a little tire black, but it's generally speaking a matte black, and it does give that differentiation. He, in one of his interviews, says he's not a huge fan of black wheels. I agree, full black wheels are not my thing. If it has a separation, you know, between tire and wheel, huge fan of that. So that's what the option is here. I wonder if there's other color options for that stripe. So perhaps you get a silver Porsche, which I just feel like Porsches need to be silver. That's not saying I wouldn't get another color if I had the option of getting a Porsche, but a gray, silver, maybe white, because just how the body flows and the curves of some of these cars or colors just accentuate that better, in my opinion. But what I was saying is if you could get that stripe in different colors to more match the body color, could be a really cool idea. Yellow, of course, or silver, or maybe even a white pinstripe. That would look, bringing out white wall tires on my GT3. That's kind of funny, right? Maybe that gives a good view of the diffuser. Not really. I don't think we'll get an underbody view. Granted, these are more or less pre-production cars. Oh, we have these nice intakes. What Andreas was mentioning is that at top speed, if I'm not mistaken, I watched a lot of videos. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I watched a lot of videos about cars from Geneva. That at top speed, which is right around 200, the ram effect of these two intakes on the engine cover, it ram airs to the point that it actually increases horsepower, you know, a la a low pressure turbocharger. That, you know, at high speed, where it's dealing with the most air resistance, it's actually getting, you know, a jump, a little boost in horsepower, which is really interesting, really cool, brilliant concept. There's a little view of the engine, if you will, mainly just the top of it, because we, of course, like I said, have this ram air effect, so I can suppose where these intakes come in, you got to have those cooling fans, and nice, generous amount of carbon around here, Lord almighty. I'm wondering how much of that is optional and how much is standard. Oh, there's those wheels. I like what Andreas again said, is that it reminds him of, this red line reminds him of, you know, super bikes, Yamaha R1, or if you will. They can often have a little pinstripe on the wheel, which are very, you know, a lot of times similar design to this. You know, the spokes might be somewhat similar. If I was optioning the car, I would not get carbon ceramic brakes. I would stick with these steel brakes. That's most likely because I'm a stingy bastard, but that's beside the point. Beautiful picture here. Some of these are going to end up as my new background, I believe. And here's the interior. Carbon seats look to be in play right here. They're showing the PDK, which is kind of a dick move, if you ask me. For the press shots, they should have given us what we want to see. The GT interior with a stick, a manual transmission, but, you know, it's an option, so no big deal. Beautiful stitching on the dash here, a little red. Yeah, red might actually be the one to go for, because then you got the, you know, the little red interior things. I like the stripe on the seat. Maybe they'll have a better stripe on the steering wheel. I love Porsche gauges. And here's another, you can see the view of this. I love the interior of the newest Gen 911. It's going to be interesting, I was thinking about this the other day, with how the design of the new Panamera has kind of jumped forward the interior aesthetic of automobiles in the general sense, but certainly Porsche. at the very least. It's just, I think it's a milestone. The interior of the Panamera. There's some gimmicks for sure. This, not to get off topic too much, but like you go in the PCM, the actual screen, to move the damn vents, the air vents. Stupid, but the aesthetic of that nice 12-inch or wide screen, you know, communication module thing. Great looking seats, probably not legal in the United States. I could be wrong. If someone sees this video and has information about that, please message me so I can update this. I can put a little, you know, notation saying, hey, you can get these seats in the US, and if you don't, you're dumb as bricks. God, that's just a hell of an interior. Personally, I think that carbon should be standard. Carbon, you know, stuff across the car. That should be standard in a GT3. Maybe it will be in the RS. Oh, there's a carbon interior. Guarantee they're going to charge you $1 million for it, but that's cool. Yeah. Oh, and it has the GT steering wheel, so you do have what should be a stock for maybe the front lift, but could be cruise control. But other than that, it's an empty steering wheel, which is, yes, you can option this steering wheel on any 911 model. I built a beautiful base model 911 on the configurator on, I think, Sunday on my iPad, and I got it to be $100,000, dead even, $100,000. I'm a very minimalist person when it comes to adding options, but only ones that really speak to me. And there's a nice another view of the, I think it's a lot of carbon. It's a full carbon seat. And that looks like about to be it. That's at the beginning. Again, that 4 liter, the main thing is, you know, it's got the 500 horsepower, so 25 horsepower increase from the previous gen, and then a torque increase, of course. I don't know the exact percentage, but it's pretty close to like 340 pound-feet, which is amazing. And of course, these power bands are just immense. Some people don't realize that. They just see the headline figure and they're like, oh, that's not cool, especially when you compare it to like a 911 Turbo with 550 pound-feet. The power band is so damn linear on these NA cars, especially these ones with, you know, the Vario cam, the you know, not infinitely variable valve timing, but it's not like, you know, Koenigsegg free valve technology, but it is really, it really broadens that torque band immensely. So that's that. It's been a long video. I will just do this one vehicle. So 911 GT3 2018. Orders should, I believe, start probably in the US. You probably could have done it at the Geneva Auto Show if you were there. Put your name in, like a good YouTuber, Shmi150, who I idolize in many ways. Very impressive character and channel, but he put in his order at the Geneva Auto Show, and yeah, I think you could probably call up your Porsche dealership and say, hey, give me one of them 6-speed 911s, or 911 GT3s if that's an option. Alright, so that's that. I will slide this out and turn off the camera. Until next time, everyone.